The sad thing is Jesus died to save even the chief priests who switched their alliances in order to have him killed, probably because they didn't like his kind of peaceful power that he was accruing with all the people. Who knows? But we know this type of story all too well. We've seen people of faith who work for peace and justice and equality for all get assassinated. I mean, the chief priest could have had Jesus stoned to death, but at that time, crucifixion was the ultimate method of torture and death. It not only made death slow and painful, but humiliating as well. Plus, it was a statement to the people that you don't mess with Roman law. As we read this account, the crucifixion of Jesus involved two parties: the Jewish people, namely the chief priests and the elders and scribes, and the Gentiles, soldiers, and the government. It had to. Why? This made it more universal, placing the blame for his death on all people, not just the Jewish people. This broader scope of death paralleled the ministry of Jesus. They tried to destroy and debunk something that Jesus created by visiting Samaria and other places. That God is for all people, and not just for the Jewish people. Apparently the chief priests and elders didn't want anything to do with the Gentiles. Perhaps they wished to keep theirs a pure religion. We know some people who do this today. Maybe it was their hope to turn the Jewish people against the Roman government and its citizens. Needless to say, they were too late. The stage, so to speak, had already been set. Jesus had done his work and done it well. We see that some of the Gentiles were learning the ways of Jesus and tried to follow the path that he laid down. And from our reading here, both Nicodemus and Joseph of Arimathea gathered their courage together and came out to the light to confess their faith, their loyalty to Jesus, taking care of his body, as was Jewish custom and law. It's folly to think that the chief priests could stop this from happening. They couldn't stop the Holy Spirit from doing God's work. Nobody or nothing can. It's almost as if they played right into God's hands. They tried to cut the head off the snake of the Jesus movement, but it backfired on them. His message and his life and identity became even more powerful because of their misdirected actions. They treated Jesus as just another upstart against their established faith system. They didn't understand the magnitude of his message, or even more importantly, who Jesus was. Jesus came into the world humble and a servant of all, and he left the same way in which he came, humble, or in this case, humiliated. But that didn't matter. He had lived as a human being who was the outpouring of God's love into the world. He had completed his part of God's mission to love and forgive in a confused and hurting world, and now was ready to depart and start the next chapter of his life in God. We leave here a bit broken and somewhat solemn, but the story continues. The resurrection is coming.